not knowing anything. And when I mean not knowing anything, meaning that even when I was in the ER, I never even read a package insert on a tetanus shot. I just gave it because that's what you were supposed to do. And so I would say, no, don't give them any of those shots. I mean, you know, they got a fever. They got enough stuff going on. They don't need to be messing with that. And I didn't know anything. I mean, zero, none at that point in time. So when I came back from that NVIC meeting, it was like, how did I miss this? Maybe I ought to look into this. And so I read that General Recommendations of Vaccination, those ones that come out about every 3 years. This was the 1998 version. It was horribly written. It was just like, I got to the end of it. It was a 42-page paper. I just so clearly remember it going, this is it? This is what a $10 billion a year industry is built on? This? Really? Maybe I ought to read some more. You know, 17 years later and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of hours of my life and talking and researching and printing and publications. I mean, you know, I suppose, Suzanne, you probably had the same experience that I did, that at least early on, I kept thinking that sooner or later this was going to make sense. I mean, this just was so outside of the paradigm of what we were taught, which was basically nothing. But we were just taught bought the Kool-Aid of vaccines are safe and effective and it's necessary and here's the schedule and this is what you do, without even giving any thought. And I always thought that what was in that needle was like a little attenuated virus and a little bit of bacterial particle and some sterile water. So like, what was the big deal? That was all that was in there. It never occurred to me it could possibly be something else. And so I kept reading. I remember those early years, I would just dig and I would read an article and then I would pull the references to that article and drill down that hole and pull the references and drill down that hole, thinking sooner or later, I would come across an article that would explain why we did this. And what we found, and you and I both found over the years, is the more you read, the more abhorrent the entire thing becomes. And the more vile and evil and everything, it just sort of, it takes your brain, it's like a Rubik's Cube, it just puts it in a whole completely different way of like, how can it possibly be that 200 years later, we still have this horrible mistake called vaccination going on, and that people are just bought into that paradigm, hook, line, and sinker, and without even thinking about it. I mean, one of the things I've said to people recently is like, you know, if you had a 7-generation heirloom vase, you know, maybe it was worth $1 million because, you know, you're related to the Queen of England or something, and you've got this heirloom vase that has been passed down in your family for generations. Would you play football with it at Thanksgiving in the living room? Would you toss it around and take a chance with it? Well, of course not. But isn't your life and your life of your child and the immune system of your child worth more than that? But yet, without even thinking about it, you just toss it around the living room and hope nothing happens.